another hostage was rescued by the IDF. And sorry for perhaps butchering his name, but Kaid Farhan Al-Qadi, a 22-year-old man, Israeli citizen, has been rescued by the IDF. He has been found in a tunnel. There are I'm not sure to what extent it is true, but he was found alone, so there are some uh, assumptions that he did escape to some extent, but ultimately he was rescued by the IDF. So he was, he was one of the people who was kidnapped on October 7th. So he has been in captivity for over 300, exactly 326 days. He was in Hamas captivity. And he is the eighth person that has been rescued by the IDF. We had stories both earlier, a few months ago, and also earlier this year about IDF rescuing hostages. So this is great news, but also a sad reminder that there are still 108 hostages still remaining in Hamas captivity. And also, unfortunately, many are believed to be dead. Yet, this is still great to see. So, James, joining me today is James, and also welcome to the Daily Objective. I always forget to say that. But, James, how do you feel?
I feel great. It's another cause for celebration. Yahoo! I mean, every time the IDF can find or rescue one of these hostages, this is the first time a hostage was actually rescued from inside those tunnels. I mean, there are just hundreds of meters of tunnels underneath Gaza, and all of the hostages so far, though, had been recovered above ground. Apparently, this guy had spent over 300 days beneath on subsurface under the sunlight. Another thing to note about this is very interesting. Yeah, he may have at least partially escaped, but he was rescued from within these tunnels, and apparently that's where he was being kept. The other thing that I noticed here is that this is an Arab Muslim. He is a Bedouin. He's a Bedouin who is working security in Israel on October 7th. Well, what are the odds that the Palestinian Authority or Hamas would have a Jewish uh, person working security for them in any context? So, but no, 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 no. It's of course Israel who's the apartheid racist government. Even though Arab Muslims can be employed, like this father of 11, I guess he's 52-year-old father of 11 kids, an Arab Muslim working security, no less, on October 7th. It also shows that Hamas doesn't care who you are if you're on the Israeli side. If you're on the Israeli side, you are, I guess, a fair target for this. Um, but notice also that the Israelis don't discriminate when they rescue people. They don't rescue. It's not like this guy wasn't particularly welcomed and rescued because he was an Arab Muslim. Quite the contrary. Israel is not the racist state here. The racism organizationally here is obviously coming from the Hamas side, and so I think it's really wonderful news that one, but as you point out, there's over 100 still there, about a third of which are thought to have died, be dead perhaps, but that would mean that there's still northwards of 70, say, alive that at least we don't know are dead, still there. And so while this is astonishingly good news, and as I say, this is an Arab Muslim who was taken captive by Hamas brutally on October 7th, and he was recovered from inside the tunnels. It is marvelous news. It's wonderful news. But look at it, it's only been they haven't even rescued 10 of the total hostages, and I fear for what's happened to the others, frankly. But this was outstanding news. This is great news. We should all be celebrating.
Yeah, and so maybe connecting this to the earlier rescue operation. So when the sort of the first big one that happened in I think it was in February. When we were discussing that, and we've covered every single both operation that succeeded, and also some that unfortunately has failed. When the first operation sort of happened, it was seen as something unprecedented, and it was. Basically, this sort of thing has never happened. Hostages have never been recovered from Hamas by force, or in a sense by a military operation rather than negotiation. And since then, we had we had one, I think, let me just check just so I have the dates. Yeah, I think it was I think it was in May, and also I think in June there was also one. But we had no, sorry. Yeah, I think in June. I remember talking about it when I was in America, so I think that's when it happened. So we had these like great rescue operations, and I think something to realize is it's important to remember that, yeah, this is possible. While we have been arguing many times that unfortunately hostages cannot be, in a sense, the main goal, because the main goal has to be the elimination of Hamas and hopeful, basically, resolution to this conflict, in a sense, like Hamas will never be allowed to do October 7th again. So the elimination of Hamas and occupation of Gaza is the only way to basically move from here. But every single operation like this, every single operation that that is done by military strength, by the something that the government should do, I think it's great not only to see that Israel is capable of doing it, Israel is capable of getting hostages back by other means than negotiation, by other means than negotiating with the terrorists. I think it also shows that, I think it shows to everyone that negotiations is not the only way we can basically deal with this situation. We can get these people back by other means. And that's why I think it's really great to see more and more operations like this, and they are slowly starting to happen more often, even and that's not really on the same level, but I think we didn't really talk about this news. We mentioned it a few times. There was also an operation where bodies of the hostages were recovered, and while if they were alive, it would have been obviously much better. Even the fact that, because Israel would negotiate even for just the dead bodies. So in that sense, even that, in a sense, is good to see. But the fact that these seem to happen more and more often points towards that, for one, Hamas is becoming more disorganized, Hamas is breaking apart, and also Israel is getting better at these operations and is able to recover hostages.
I'm frankly astonished at the ability to do this. It is a remarkable thing to be able to do. And the taking of the hostages is itself a death threat. So, when someone is taken hostage, in effect, the hostage takers are saying, "We will kill them if you don't. If you don't what? If you don't moderate your defensive response. If you attack us some more. If you don't meet our other demands. If you don't release Palestinian terrorists, for example." And the worst thing you can do, of course, is to negotiate. All you're doing is guaranteeing that more hostages will be taken. Now, I can understand the families of the hostages say, do whatever it takes to get my loved one home, but they have to understand that that would come at the price of someone else's loved ones in the future, and that they would be guaranteeing that other people, the hostage taking is being rewarded. I can't expect them to understand the morality of this. I can understand intense emotions being involved in this, especially if it's your loved one. It would be it'd be hard to stop me from trying to get to a loved one, as foolish as that might be. But the point is, negotiating can only guarantee more hostage taking as it rewards hostage taking. And Israel, they'll exchange real live terrorists for dead civilian hostages or dead IDF soldier bodies. They've done that. And when you do that, then of course that you put a premium. Why do you suppose they took all those hostages on October 7th? It works. It pays off. It pays dividends. And right now it's the focus of all the negotiations and talk. And so it worked for them. So every time we allow the negotiations to be based on that, predicated upon that, we're saying, good job, Hamas. You should be rewarded for taking hostages on October 7th, which is, of course, the most counterproductive thing you can do. You're guaranteeing the success of hostage taking in future. There will be more, I promise you. That's why, as you point out, it's important to show that there are ways of getting these hostages, but it's got to be when and if the IDF can do it. It's, as I say, it's a remarkable thing to me. I'm glad they're doing it. I think it's an important thing to do. I'm glad they've gotten several hostages out alive. Apparently, this guy's in good spirits. He's apparently lost a lot of weight. Like I say, he's been underground for over 300 days, but he's out alive. And the fact that they can do that, and they can do it, operation of force, shows that negotiations are not the only way to get at least those who are still alive out. There are other ways, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, of course, the hostages being such a premium for Hamas, they're very well 2/3 of those remaining 108 or whatever the number is could still be alive. And I would urge IDF to do this whenever they can, and not to go the negotiation route. That will only guarantee more hostage taking. As harsh as that may sound, we have to think long range. The only way to really end this is to destroy Hamas and to destroy their patrons in Tehran. That is really the only way we're going to, in the long run, address this issue and stop the hostage taking altogether.
And so yeah, as you've mentioned, obviously after he has been rescued, he went into hospital to make sure he's okay. He's stabilized. It seems like yeah, he's pretty much doing well, considering everything. Something so someone in the chat mentions that something that he read in a comment section of some German outlets, basically talking about this. This has been, and it's funny enough, it's something we've been joking around on the in the in the production meeting, that this is, a PR stunt by Israel. It's oh, how convenient. It's an Arab, like all citizen, father of a children, something like that. And when you hear things like that, you obviously, there's no real response. There's never a real end response to conspiracy theories. Like we have posters of this man even before, like Israel to large extent knows people, even if we don't have direct evidence of like Hamas didn't specifically say we have these people. We either have videos of them being taken away, or just by the fact that we didn't find them, unfortunately, their dead bodies in the aftermath of October 7. So there is a certain amount of we knew who could it be. If Israel says we have rescued someone, there is a good guess we could make about who it is. But it's
Those sinister Jews, don't you know how brilliant it would have been for Netanyahu? Since October 7th was a giant false flag operation, since the Israelis did October 7th themselves, including all those rapes and killing of children and babies and so forth, and it was a false flag operation by Israel, obviously, from the start, and how brilliant Netanyahu is to be engineering this. Of course, the hostages were all probably some engineering by the IDF anyway, and you see how as he twirls his mustache like some melodrama villain. The people who actually believe that somehow Netanyahu is responsible for the PR that this might involve. No, that's twisted anti-Semitic thinking, obviously. But it's amazing the degree to which that kind of conspiracy detachment from reality is something you will hear on social media all the time. It's terrifying, but it's gross anti-Semitism, obviously. But if you're epistemologically and morally so twisted that you really are thinking that way, then what a brilliant job Netanyahu did, and having this one person released, and of course he was an Arab Muslim. No, you're down the path of conspiracy theory to the point that you are fully detached from reality. You may as well be a diagnosed psychotic at that point.
So let me just quickly run through the super chat. Thank you, Jonathan, for a super chat who says, James is gold. Great job. We also have a super chat from Bonnie. Thank you so much. We also have a new member, Yotam. So welcome to the membership. This is going to be the Atlas Shrugged book club after the reality show. So in about an hour and 15 minutes. And that is also being live streamed to YouTube members. So you can check out that. We also have a super chat from Bull Moose who says, Hamas just said they released him. Hashtag doubt. So I've tried quickly looking up. I cannot see any media reporting on it. So I cannot necessarily confirm yet. I'm checking with Bull Moose if he can provide the source. And if I can confirm it, I'll say it. But until then,
I'm going to go out on a big limb here. That's total nonsense. Hamas, each one of these hostages is gold for
so just quickly, it's obviously nonsense if Hamas said it. What I cannot confirm if Hamas did say it, so that's why I'm hesitant.
Right. They would. I can imagine them saying it. I can easily imagine them saying it because they don't want Israel to get the credit for either the competence or the rescue of an Arab Muslim. On the other hand, the whatever Hamas says about it, obviously it wasn't a release by Hamas. These are precious commodities for Hamas. They are not going to release them without a trade. So whether Hamas has said this or not, color me skeptical. But besides, we know the lies that Hamas has told, lie after lie after lie. Whether it's the total death toll statistics, which have to be a big old lie, or the hospital bomb. Remember way back that hospital bombing? It wasn't Israeli munitions at all that caused that. So they've been lying the whole time. But in this particular case, I would know that it was a lie because, of course, as I say, this is a bargaining chip. This is an important asset for Hamas. They would not just let one man go at all. That's impossible to think that that's what happened. And if they were going to release one, why not release them all? No, I can tell you right now that that report would be false, even if Hamas were to have said that or would say that in the future.
Yeah, again, I cannot see it happening. Again, negotiations for ceasefire are still happening. Hostages are obviously a big part of it. Again, Hamas just like releasing one of the people seems yeah, I mean again, if you believe that again, we don't have a confirmation yet, so I don't want to say. But again, I would if you believe that, I don't even know what I would really say to you. So what else do we have?
Hip hip hooray! Today is Atlas Shrugged book club day. Now, folks, it's an amazing novel. And if you aren't at the subscription level that's required to take advantage of that, you're really missing out on something wonderful. And on Thursday, when I know this is only for Inner Circle, Reardon Medal, and Midas Mulligan level of subscribers, we're going to have the next in our installment on a principled look at the United States Constitution. So depending on your membership level, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to be gained from being a member to Ayn Rand Center UK. You get all kinds of added perks. We're just finishing up on Leonard Peikoff's first history course on philosophy and continuing with John Ridpath's analysis of Marxism. And we have great plans from there to go. We're going to finish up on the history of philosophy and start in on logic. There's all kinds of additional material that you guys would be missing out on if you don't become a paid member of Ayn Rand Center UK. You're getting a perspective here that should not get anywhere else. This is not your standard conservative Israeli position or neocon position in America, and this sure isn't the progressive position that is so frequently pro-Iran and pro-Hamas. This is a perspective you're not going to get anywhere else, ladies and gentlemen. So do please consider becoming a paid subscriber to the Ayn Rand Center UK?
Bulmus says he found it on an Israeli outlet called Push. So if the outlet is in Hebrew, usually, obviously, Israeli or Hebrew media do publish on this much quicker. So for those people who want to check, if we cannot confirm it until the end, just saying it here, or we might post it later in the description. So yeah, I think something also to mention. Obviously, Netanyahu has already called the hostage. Obviously, being both grateful to the IDF who rescued him, but also really congratulating him on getting back. And I think, yeah, Netanyahu should take something from this. I think it would be great to finally maybe stop the negotiations and realizing for one, realizing what needs to actually be done, what needs to be, in a sense, the final goal, which is the dissolution of Hamas, which again, I don't really see happening if you negotiate with them. I mean, if there, no, again, I don't really see happening if Hamas does survive in any chance, even if the sort of like the best scenario that can come out of negotiations. And the why I say, because usually the other side needs to stay alive for sort of the negotiations to happen. So Sinwar, the head of Hamas, would have to come out alive out of these negotiations. I don't see any sort of negotiation, any sort of deal that would, in a sense, end with Sinwar somehow dying, unless Israel would do something that I cannot see it doing and basically breaking the deal, especially since this deal is basically sanctioned by America. America is a part of these negotiations. So if Israel were to broke this deal, which I think it would absolutely be right to do,
Yes.
get
Israel could lie. Israel could lie to the United States, as far as I'm concerned, if they think that, for example, it would be cover for a rescue operation or another military operation, just so long as they don't actually come to some deal or some exchange. Actually doing a deal, I would oppose no matter what. But if Israel has to lie to Hamas, lie even to the Americans and the American State Department about these negotiations to keep the hostages alive or to provide some cover for a military operation, they would be well within their rights to do so. They would be well within their rights to do so. And no valid end to this can happen if Sinwar is alive. Period. Full stop. If Sinwar is still alive, then this is not achieved the necessary goals that are required in the destruction of Hamas. Sinwar's death is essential, and there can be no successful end to this until and unless Sinwar is among those who are killed. No successful conclusion can be had if we say at the end of the day, Mr. Sinwar is still alive and anywhere, breathing on this planet.
Yes, something to realize is, Israel is not threatened only by, let's say, the internal forces, or they're not really internal, but the sort of like Hamas or the Palestinian Authority, respectively. It is threatened by Hezbollah, it is threatened by the Houthis, it is threatened by Iran, as well as many other groups in the region. And if Hamas were to, in a sense, get out in any way, there's many nations happy to host them, again similar to the way the PLO has been basically moving around the Middle East until it did negotiate with Israel to get back. So this is what I would be worried about if Hamas does survive in any capacity, basically future Israel, especially if the occupation is not being done right, which again is something I'm being scared that it will not be done right. Basically, that Hamas would be reestablished in Gaza, similar
Yep.
to how, somehow incorporated into the Palestinian Authority, similar to what has been done with the Palestinian Liberation Organization.
Yeah. Any real negotiations, of course, will keep Sinwar alive, and he'll be living it up at the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton in Qatar or Turkey or something. There are plenty of nations in this world who'll put him up, and apparently he's got the resources to suffer at a Michelin-ranked, top-ranked hotel in the world. Wouldn't that be lovely? No, that is failure. That is what failure looks like. That's what the recipe for more October 7th, as he promised, after October 7th, will happen. And they will happen, ladies and gentlemen, if this man survives, or any major part of his organization even is still functioning. That will happen again. Promise.
So just quickly, I don't know how. I'm just reading a report about Hamas firing a long-range missile at Tel Aviv, but I don't see anything else yet. So I don't know if hopefully it's not something bad. Especially, I think people would be spamming me in the chat if something bad were to happen. But if this situation does evolve, we'll definitely mention it about the reality show. But talking about the reality show, James, did you know history didn't start on October 7th?
Wow, that's news to me. I thought that the universe came into existence ex nihilo on that day. Maybe God said, "Let there be," and then wasn't it on October 7th that the universe came into being?
Well, this quote or this sort of phrase similar to October 7th didn't happen in a vacuum has been used a lot by basically pro-Hamas people to what I believe to basically justify what has happened on October 7th. So we will be talking about this phrase, the people who say it, and what it really means. We'll be talking more about it on the reality show. I'm putting a link to that in the chat. And James, thank you for joining me today. And also thank you, Robert, for your super chat. He says, sadly, history is only as old as memories are long. Thank you so much for that. And with that, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, James, again for joining me today. We'll see you on the reality show in just about a minute. Thank you and bye-bye.
Be well.